Your Excellency, Mrs. الخليف, what about Bahrain, especially that you are in the unique position of heading a ministry responsible for sustainable development in Bahrain?
Of course. I think I just want to start by saying that COP28 was a great opportunity for Bahrain to align and solidify the plans that we've put into place. The delegation was headed by His Majesty the King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, who announced Blueprint Bahrain, which is really our national plan to action the targets that were set a couple of years ago during COP26, which was to achieve net zero by 2060 and set a number of interim targets to reduce emissions by 30% by 2035, double the tree coverage or afforestation, double the targets for renewables, quadruple mangrove coverage in Bahrain. And so far, we're seeing results in 2022, 2023, we're exceeding those targets. So it's a great opportunity to show that transformation has started, and Bahrain is part of the global transformation. But as you said, as a Minister of Sustainable Development, I always have to take a step back and really look at sustainability as more than just the environmental transformation. For us, the easy thing that we say always is sustainability in Bahrain is SDGs++. So we adopted the SDGs, of course, and we're progressing in trying to achieve those SDGs by 2030. But we have another set of targets to achieve, and examples of those is our economic transformation. That is one of the key initiatives that we've been working on over a couple of decades now to transform the economy and become less reliant on the oil. So that's one of the examples that shows that Bahrain is not new. Transformation is not new to Bahrain. We're used to that transformation. We're used to looking at the challenges and opportunities and moving forward with the plans that we set. And just on that also, so for us, the oil sector it used to be the biggest sector by far. Based on the latest results on the GDP, it's no longer the biggest sector at the moment. We have the financial services sector that is the biggest, and the non-oil sector is about 83% in Bahrain. So just the point that I wanted to make is that transformation has to happen, and that transformation needs to be an overall sustainability transformation that takes into account the economic impact, the social impact, as well as the environmental.
Mrs. الخليف, in Bahrain also we said that you have the goals, the sustainability goals. Can you give us, we're talking now about how to make them happen, so can you give us some specific initiatives that you have to achieve those goals?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just to touch on what Their Excellencies, the ministers have mentioned, in Bahrain it's a similar story as well. So when I mentioned Blueprint Bahrain, which is our blueprint to achieve our targets for net zero, and the key pillars of that is the mitigation, adaptation, and the investment. So similar story with what has been said. On the mitigation side, it is how do I move into a low carbon economy? So we have our national energy strategy, which was launched actually as part of our economic recovery plan post-COVID, which launched a number of key sector strategies, one of which is the energy sector. And it basically looks into how do I increase the efficiency of the current energy sources, how do I diversify and create a portfolio of alternative energy resources that are affordable, secure, and sustainable. So that's on the mitigation side. On the adaptation as well, so we have a national adaptation investment plan, which looks into water security, protection of the ecosystem. It looks at the coastline being an island. That's another thing that Bahrain has been working on for years. And the afforestation and the plantation of the mangrove is a big part of protecting the coastline of Bahrain. And the last part of that blueprint is the investment side. And this is also what Their Excellencies touched on, is how do I continue to create sustainable opportunities in my new lower carbon emission economy. And that investment requires, again, having the right infrastructure in terms of the legislation. It requires financial commitment, which is available considering Bahrain is a financial hub in the region. It requires training the people. It requires investing in the right technology. And that's a big conversation that's been happening in WEF as well. So that's all of those elements working together is basically the plan to achieve the net zero targets.
Then we'll wrap it up.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rana Dajani. I'm a professor of molecular biology and a social innovator, a Schwab awardee, actually. I'm here representing Catalyst 2030, which is a network of social entrepreneurs, innovators around the world. We have, with others, have launched a new UN resolution last year for the social and solidarity economy. And the objective of it is to work with stakeholders, business, private sector, and governments, public sector, with the social sector, create the social innovation sector, so that we could equally be at the table to create solutions for the Sustainable Development Goals in a sustainable fashion. So my question to you, as countries from the MENA region, and I represent Catalyst for the MENA region and the
Quickly,
social
please,
innovation.
the time is running out.
Yeah, how can we all work together? What, in terms of legal structures to allow the social innovation to be supported, and in terms of funding? And when I say funding, can we harness the Zakah money to reimagine it to support sustainable sustainable projects and sustainable development goals?
Who is the
Thank
question
you.
to?
For everyone.
We need someone to answer. Who will volunteer?
تفضل.
Go ahead. You're the
I'll take
sustainable.
No, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And I think the integration of the social aspect is the social part of society is very, very important. And more we're seeing and we're realizing where the governments are becoming more of regulators. They will set the policies. They will ensure that there is the right regulation, there is the right infrastructure. But then, and that's the case for us in Bahrain. We would rely on the private sector. We will rely on the public to actually be a part of that transformation. We see them on the table. We have those discussions together when it comes to the transformation. And when it comes maybe to the public, it's the innovation for us and the technology where we see investment in those people that will help us achieve those development goals. And actually, if you look at one of the announcements that Bahrain made during COP also is a climate tech fund that has capital of about 750 million, which is designed to invest in growth companies and innovation that will help the transition to a low carbon economy. And so that work is ongoing. Of course, I think there would be more than happy to have discussions and think more about how do you integrate it even further into the discussion.